Welcome to the Home Downsizing Show. My name is Ben Souchek, your host and the owner and founder of Home Downsizing Solutions. With the Home Downsizing Show, I want to provide you the information and resources to make the downsizing of your house stress and hassle-free. So sit back and enjoy the show. Thank you for joining us.
All right, would like to introduce my friend and special guest, Mr. Ben Souchek. He is the owner-operator of a wonderful company called Home Downsizing Solutions, and we've had Ben on the program. Just really happy to have Ben back. And Ben, welcome back to Senior Care Live, and Happy New Year.
Good afternoon, Steve. Thank you for having me again, and yes, Happy New Year to you. The years seem to fly by anymore these days, but thank you for having me on. And as always, I hopefully can give a lot of great information for the listeners today.
Oh, I know you will. And I'll tell you, I was just telling my wife the other day, here we are. We're 3/4 the way through January, and we just put our Christmas tree up the day after Thanksgiving. So I don't know how it's moving so fast, but oh my goodness. Anyway, so for our listeners, Ben Souchek with Home Downsizing Solutions, you can sell your house in an as-is condition for cash. We're going to talk about that today. And this is without the hassle of showing your house, listing it on the open market, having strangers in your house, walking through your house, getting the short notice and having to vacate your house for an hour or two, or paying the cost of updates and repairs and all of that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about some of the reasons to consider selling your house as is with Home Downsizing Solutions. And Ben, what are some of the primary reasons that someone should consider selling their house as is?
Sure, Steve. The few things that we find, or that I find most of the time, is one thing is that a person has owned a house for 20, 30, 40 years, maybe more, and really have not done any updates to the house, whether that's cosmetic, or especially if the heating and air conditioning is not up to date, or hasn't been updated, if the roof has been there for a while. And so some of those updates, especially if a lot of things have to be updated on the house to bring it up to its full potential, that's really one reason why people contact us. The other reason is if a parent, as you work with, if a parent or loved one has to go to senior living, and especially if the adult children live out of the area, and they want to make sure they're taking care of the parent or loved one, and really just don't have the time or energy to worry about the house that the parent or loved one is moving from. That can be another good reason why our service is of a lot of value to people.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. And of course, this is the probably the busiest time of the year. I like to describe it as the peak demand for all senior care communities. So we have a lot of families helping find a place: assisted living, long-term care, memory care, independent living, or maybe just a simple downsize for an aging parent. And then all of a sudden, and you've got the big question: what do we do with the house? And if your parent has lived in that house for many years, like Ben said, you could have super costly repairs or updates that could cost, tens and tens of thousands of dollars. If you don't want to deal with all that, you want to consider selling your home as is, move along pretty quickly, have cash in hand to help pay for the next chapter in their life, maybe a stay at assisted living or long-term care. Ben, how fast can you turn around one of these transactions? If someone says, "Hey, I'm really interested," if you'll make an offer, if they accept, how long does this whole process take typically?
Sure. Typically less than 7 days if a person wants to close that quickly. And that doesn't mean, of course, they have to move that quickly, but certainly within 7 days, we can purchase a house from the time that we look at it. And it really comes down to how quickly the title and closing company that we work with can check title and prepare the closing paperwork. We have had transactions that have gone as quickly as literally within 24 hours or 1 day of getting an agreement.
Wow.
We've been able to close a couple times within that 24 hours. a number of times, of course, within 3 or 4 days, but a lot of times within that 1 week period. And so it comes down to how quick the title company and closing company that we work with can do that. The title companies that we work with know us because we've been around for years. And so they take care of us pretty well, especially when we need to make something happen very quickly. So we can close, again, within that 7-day period usually, but a person can be flexible as far as moving in possession times.
And so explain that flexibility, because usually when you sell your house, you have to, on the closing date, when when the funds are transferred and everything, you're usually dropping off your key and you have to be out of that house like that day. And so it sounds like you have some flexibility there.
That's correct. Typically when a traditional buyer purchases a property, when they sign for that new loan and they're responsible, they typically want possession of the house. They don't want anybody being in that house any longer. With us, we can be very flexible with possession or when a person needs to be out of a house. And we know, because we work with a lot of situations like this, that moving into especially a senior community or apartment community, sometimes a person just doesn't know the exact date that apartment's going to be ready for them. Maybe the community or the management is doing some updates to the house, getting ready for turnover, painting, new floor covering, things like that. And they don't know when the date's going to be ready for a person to move in. Mm-hmm. And so we can make it very easy to say, within the next 30 days, take your time. And even if a person moves, sometimes they still have things in the house that they're not quite sure that they want to get rid of. So they want to, take a carload at a time from point A to point B as they can make that happen. And again, everybody's different. So we can accommodate everybody's special needs, I guess is what I would say. So whatever a schedule is, we try and accommodate that schedule for them.
And that is really that's really a blessing. And I may have mentioned it before, but when we moved into our this last house that we moved 17 years ago. That was a long time ago, but the timing was off, and we were trying to get the timing right. We sold our house that we came from on the traditional market. We had to leave. Strangers were in our house. That kind of creeped me out. We had all of the. They were supposed to give us a 1 or 2 hour warning, and a lot of times it's like, "Hey, can you be out of your house in 10 minutes?" We had babies. It was a disaster. But anyway, but we got through it. But the point is that the people wanting to move into our house, there was no flexibility. We were happy to sell it and get it sold. We got a good price, et cetera, et cetera. But we had to be out on a certain day. And then I was trying to push our new house because it was being built. We were trying to push that, and they could only go so fast. So we had about a 2 or 3 week gap in there where that was not convenient. We had to stay at my mom's house. It was, and she lived an hour away, and God bless her. She took us in, and it was kind of fun. But the timing was a major issue, and this is a real blessing and a major benefit that you offer your clients.
We certainly think so. And a lot of people do appreciate, I think, the fact that we can do that when they wanted to sell. That way they knew that the house was sold. They didn't have to worry about someone's loan closing or, not being able to actually close on the property. And so they had the comfort of knowing the house was sold, but that they could relax and make that transition into a new home or apartment, senior living community as they wanted to. And
Ben, how many times have you heard the story of, well, we thought we had it closed, but then the buyer couldn't get their loan, and so now we're kind of on the hook again, starting completely over and delayed the whole thing?
Correct. We certainly heard that a number of times, and it kind of just depends on the economic cycle that we're in. But if it's a difficult time to get loans, if things are changing with the loan requirements for buyers, then there certainly have been those circumstances before. So maybe what I should say is that we have a fire drill free transition to your new home.
That's no kidding. Reach out to Ben Souchek with Home Downsizing Solutions. This is an A-plus rated Better Business Bureau, veteran-owned, 25-year plus in business at Home Downsizing Solutions, 1-855-291-5005. So you could call that toll-free number anywhere in the country, 855-291-5005, or reach out online at homedownsizing-solutions.com. And now, another Senior Care Live question of the week. When selling your house as is, you should invest a lot of time and a lot of money into it and get it updated and repaired before selling the house. Is that statement true or false? The answer coming up next. All right, back to that bonus Senior Care Live question of the week. When selling your house as is, you should invest a lot of time and a lot of money into it and get it updated and repaired before selling the house. Is that statement true or false? And the answer is false. The answer is false. And Ben, if you're selling your house as is, that's one of the giant and convenient benefits of selling your house is so that you don't have to do all of that. Is that right?
That's absolutely true. And speaking of doing repairs on a house like that to get it ready for sale, one of the common questions that I have, if this is an okay time to mention this,
sure, yeah,
is a lot of people will say, what do I need to do or what should I do? What are the top things to do to a house to get it in a sale-ready condition? And what I typically always tell people is to do everything or do nothing. Because what has, anyway, in a typical real estate market is if a person does the easy things, which may not hurt a whole lot, simple cosmetic things like paint, some floor coverings, things like that, but they don't do the other things like updating the kitchen, bathrooms, and some of the other obvious things that when a buyer or potential buyer walks into a house, they see the things that have been updated, but then they notice everything else that has not been updated. And they start wondering, okay, what did they try to cover up? Mm-hmm. Or what's not done that we don't see also? And so what I always say is, either do everything or do nothing.
You caught the attention of our producer extraordinaire, Mr. Sean Floyd. He's over here shaking his head up and down because I know that he has done some house shopping and kind of looking around just for the right home for their family. And I think he's probably ran into that. He's shaking his head again. He's like, oh yeah. That's a really, really good point.
Especially in markets like we've been through here back in 2022, when the market was so hot, you would when I would look at houses once in a while that have been updated, quote unquote, you could see that they sometimes in my opinion, took shortcuts to make things look pretty, mm-hmm. maybe weren't all that good quality of updates, if that was phrased right. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I would always tell a person.
Yep. Do it all or don't do any of it. And so for the Home Downsizing Solutions clients, they're like, what are we going to do with the house? We don't want to do all that stuff. And frankly, you can, when you move from your house to your next home, whether that's assisted living, long-term care, memory care, an apartment, a senior apartment like my mom moved into, a nice little maintenance-free senior apartment, or if you're just simply downsizing, maybe you inherited a property. There are all sorts of reasons that you could have this property, but if you don't want to deal with it, and then if there's just a lot of stuff in there, you're like, we don't need 80% of this stuff. We want to take what we need. What are we going to do with the rest of the stuff? Ben, you can help with that as well. Is that correct?
Correct. What we always tell people is to take the stuff you want to take and move, of course. The ability to have the space to move certain things are sometimes or oftentimes a big issue. But take the things you want to take, sell the things you want to sell. We can sometimes assist with giving things away to certain charities if people want to see that happen. But any of the stuff that's left that nobody cares about and that's just been sitting around for years and years anyway, leave it and we take care of it.
That is excellent. Mr. Ben Souchek with Home Downsizing Solutions, 855-291-5005. That's toll free, 855-291-5005, or online at homedownsizing.solutions.com. And Ben, I want to talk about your book. I have it right in front of me, and I'll tell you, this is an excellent resource. It's called Home Downsizing Secrets. Discover how to sell your house fast and easy without the stress or hassles. And Ben, you wrote this, and it has about the author and an introduction, and then some of the chapters in here. Thinking about this is really, really good stuff. Thinking about downsizing, what to do with the stuff, where will I move to, preparing your house for sale, options for selling a house, challenges with selling a house, realistic expectations with selling a house, information about real estate appraisers, working with potential buyers. What if my house doesn't sell? I mean, this just goes on and on and on. We're talking, you packed years and years and years of experience and things that you've learned and things that you know would be really important to the potential home seller or house seller here. You've packed it all into a really nice book called Home Downsizing Secrets. I just want to congratulate you for that. This is an excellent resource.
Well, thank you for that, Steve. As I jokingly tell people, it's no literary masterpiece by any means, and I acknowledge that. But I think
it's pretty good.
Excuse me. I have tried to put together, my 25 plus years of experience with working with individuals who wanted to sell a house and downsize, and have tried to put all the relevant information without any fluff or any filler into the book, so that it can be a good resource and so that it is valuable to people. And I have received a lot of good feedback that there's good information in the book. And of course, I'm always looking to see how I can improve that. But yes, I do hope that it's a valuable resource for people that are considering selling a house and moving.
All right. And I think this is one of those resources that, I think it should be in the lobby of every single senior care community. I think it should be all over the place and just readily available for our listeners. What's the best way for them to reach out and get this book? And is it hard copy only? Is it available in a digital form? Tell us about that.
Sure. It's in paperback, of course, on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And but you can also go to homedownsizing.secrets.com to order a copy. And of course, you can call our office, toll free 855-291-5005, and we'd be happy to send out a copy for you as well. So whatever is convenient for the listener to get the book, it's hopefully available in some way for them to access.
All right, and how much does that cost? What does the book run?
If you just call the office, we'd be happy to send it out to you for free on the website or on Amazon. Actually, on the website, you just pay for the shipping and handling, which is, I think, under $5. Okay. And on Amazon, though, it sells for $17.
Okay. All right. So here's a little pro tip, insider tip. Call the office.
There you go.
Or go to homedownsizing.secrets.com and just pay for the shipping. But if you want to call the office for the book or just to visit with Ben about potentially selling your home as is, 855-291-5005 or online again at homedownsizing.solutions.com. And Ben, thanks so much for being here today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you.
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to your audience today. And again, if I can be of value and a service to your listeners, please let me know.
All right. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Home Downsizing Show. For additional information and resources on home downsizing, just go to homedownsizing.blueprint.com. That's homedownsizing.blueprint.com. Or if you're ready to sell your house and downsize, just go to homedownsizing.solutions.com. That's homedownsizing.solutions.com. And if you have ideas to improve our show or topics that you'd like us to cover, or have any questions that we can answer, just call our office toll free 855-291-5005. That's 855-291-5005. Thank you.